Good morning and welcome to lesson 49. Hooray, we're nearly there. So all of you people that have, and it's only been a couple on Facebook really, but over the years, all the people that have told me, I have trouble, I got to lesson 30 something. Well, we're well past the 30s. We're up to lesson 49, and all the excuses that you've made for yourself that you can't do it, can't get past whatever it was lesson, have just vanished into the nothing that they came from. So lesson 49, God's voice speaks to me all through the day, and all you got to do really is just keep going. Right? Just keep going. Make this commitment the most important thing in your life for 12 months. It's like give yourself that gift of 12 months of doing the workbook, putting your heart and soul into it, giving your heart and soul to God, and simply applying these lessons and the principles of these lessons in whatever situation shows up that disturbs your peace of mind throughout the day, right? As well as initially in the 12-month period, doing the actual lesson in the application period. So God's voice speaks to me all through the day. It is quite possible to listen to God's voice all day without interrupting your regular activities in any way. The part of your mind in which truth abides is in constant communication with God, whether you're aware of it or not. It is the other part of your mind that functions in the world and obeys the world's laws. It is this part which is constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain. The part that is listening to the voice of God is calm, always at rest, and wholly certain. It is really the only part there is. The other part is a wild illusion, frantic and distraught, but without reality of any kind. Try today not to listen to it. Try to identify with the part of your mind where stillness and peace reign forever. Try to hear God's voice call to you lovingly, reminding you that your Creator has not forgotten His Son. Now, and it's only halfway through, but God's voice speaks to me all through the day. If you've been doing this for a while, and if you're on Facebook pages, and if you're on other things with Course in Miracles stuff, invariably you'll come into contact with people who will tell you that they actually hear God's voice, like the physical voice. And I'm going to tell you also that I have heard God's voice several times speaking from the clouds. And if not this book, but if you would have purchased my other book, which is Truth from the Top Down, which you can get on Amazon by Dave Phare, there's a few sections in there about hearing that voice. And that was an actual physical booming kind of God's voice. I don't know how to describe it other than like a Cecil B. DeMille kind of God's voice from the sky, from the mountains, from everywhere. I've also heard a more quiet, what would you call it, inner voice, which was, I would say, was Jesus, right? Didn't declare his name, but it was not my own inner speaking, but it was a guidance sort of a voice, right? Or the voice for the Holy Spirit. And at times it's been different voices, but it's not a regular thing. It's not just like talking to me all through the day like this. The voice for God that speaks to me all through the day is the voice for reason, right? The voice for reason, the voice that makes things reasonable and allows that moment of grace wherein through stepping back to listen to that voice, right? Remember in the Course, it says that the ego always speaks first, right? And the voice for God is quiet, it waits its turn, and you have free will to listen to whichever voice you like, etc. And so the ego always speaks first. It's the voice for I want, I need, I have, you did, he said, she said, all of that. And the voice for God always presents itself as the voice of reason, which gives a very certain and authoritative kind of picturing to the situations and events that seem to be disturbing your peace of mind. And it is very easy to listen to it throughout the day, but you do have to remind yourself to do that. And that's what the mind training is for, right? Is to connect with your own inner teacher, learn to hear that inner voice, and learn to follow it. Listen, learn, and do. Right? There's always an active component to listening. And at other times, At other times you may feel just a sense of things, and I don't really know how to describe that. You'll know it when it happens. And I'll just give you one quick example before I continue on with the lesson. I was walking along the beach one day in New South Wales, having done a meditation in the morning with a bunch of people, and I was just walking into town, which is about a 1 kilometre walk, and there are sand dunes to my right, oceans to the left, and the sand dunes are very high, right? They're probably 15, 20 feet high and topped with sea grasses and things, beach type grass at the top, and I cannot see up and over the sand dune. I'm down on the beach, and I've been walking about 100 meters, and all of a sudden I get this overpowering sense that I have to go up into the sand dunes. And at first, the voice in my head, I'd sort of counteract that, and I'm like, nah, I'm going to town. Why would I go? And then it's just so strong. So I went up into the sand dunes, clambered up the dune into the sand dunes, walked about 2 or 3 meters in through these long grasses, and there's a young girl about to cut her wrists. She's got the blade to her, she's hidden from anyone. No one else would have seen her or found her. And a happy outcome to that. We had a bit of a chit chat and put things into perspective. And last I heard from her, she's in London with the dance troupe. That was many years ago now. But that sense, that inner sense of direction, I have to do this, right? Don't let yourself off the hook with that. You've got nothing to lose. Like, give it a go. What is there to lose by going up into the sand dune? What is there to lose by following that inner sense of things that I have to go and do something, right? You have a guidance within, and it does come to you as a feeling sometimes. I wouldn't say intuition. Intuition's more temporally based. It's sort of, I tend to associate intuition with survival instincts and things like that. But this is more from a higher sort of perspective. So don't be surprised how you get spoken to by spirit, right? It can look like almost anything. But generally, that sense of reason and that sense of, it's like, oh yeah. And remembering your goal helps. Inner peace is my goal. All right, inner peace is my goal. I'm learning to step back and listen to that voice that speaks to me all through the day. So, okay, so we will need at least 4 5-minute practice periods today. So 20 minutes today and more if possible. We will try actually to hear the voice reminding you of God and of yourself. We will approach this happiest and holiest of thoughts with confidence, knowing that in doing so, we are joining our will with the will of God. 4 5-minute practice periods. He wants you to hear his voice. He gave it to you to be heard. Listen in deep silence. Be very still and open your mind. Oh. Go past all the raucous shrieks and sick imaginings that cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with God. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you beyond the frantic, riotous thoughts and sounds and sights of this insane world. You do not live there. How cool is that? You do not live there. The insane world. We are trying to reach your real home. We are trying to reach the place where you are truly welcome. We are trying to reach God. Do not forget to repeat today's idea very frequently. Do so with your eyes open when necessary, but closed when possible. And be sure that you sit quietly and repeat the idea for today slowly whenever you can, closing your eyes on the world and realizing that you are inviting God's voice to speak to you. All right, and that's really one of the first major meditative kind of postures that's presented in a lesson in this book. And remember, out of these 50 that we're doing, there are 365, and there are many more like that. And the last lessons in the book ask you to sit for half an hour at the minimum, right? Once a day or twice a day, I think it was. So morning and night. But these ones, four practice periods, 4 minutes, 5 times a day, and more if possible. So there was something else there that, oh yes. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you beyond the frantic rider's thoughts and sights and sounds of this insane world. You do not live there. Right now, there's a thing that happens in your mind, and this happens to me on an almost daily basis. In that, and you have to remember that you can't maintain a presence in your true home, in your inner realm. You can't maintain a conscious presence there, because if you did so, it would void the ability for you to use the body. From external perspectives, people around you would think that you'd fallen into some kind of a coma. But on a daily basis, when I close my eyes like that, I get these flashes of light, and not always, but pretty much most times, flashes of light that are, I call them postcards from home. Just little momentary reconnections. And initially, in my enlightenment in 1997, I had the complete experience of seeing the world, the universe, my body, and everything completely vanish before my eyes, like in the twinkling of an eye, as it says in the Bible. Blink, blink, blink. Everything just gone. And finding myself in eternity, which I recognized within myself as mind. I didn't have a heart and a body, which I recognized within my beingness was my home, right? It's like, oh my God. And everyone and everything was there, not as bodies, not as things, but as the minds and as the inner sense of ourselves that we are. And that is so hard to explain. It's impossible to explain. And all one in God, and not separate and all that sort of thing. So there is, like when it says in the Bible, the kingdom of heaven is within you, right? Knock and the door shall be opened. That's what you were trying to do in this lesson. That's what you were trying to go past the raucous shrieks of the conscious level of mind and sink down and deeply into a place wherein all of a sudden that thick veil of thoughts parts, and bushka, you have an experience of direct union in light. And that'll be startling, that'll be mind-boggling, it'll be awesome. And of course the body reacts. So when like that, when I just open my mind, thank you. There's a it's just almost automatic for me now. I don't know how to describe it, but there's a reaction. But there's a true connection that you have with your creative reality within you, that you're trying to get in touch with, that you are trying to access, that you are trying to reach through doing these lessons. Right now, the goal of the course is inner peace, right? But the purpose for attaining inner peace, the reason that you would want to be able to stay in the, keep your finger here, stay here, not out here or out here, is to enable you to take that here and now moment that you find without the past and without the future to an internal directive, right? Where there's no thought of this, no thought of that. So you can have that experience for yourself. And however you have it, you have it. But if you have it with drugs, I would say that that's not a relative experience. It has to be through your own free will, through your own forgiveness, through your own willingness to transform or reinterpret the purpose that you've given the world. All right, and I have a lot of people say to me, "Oh, I had some LSD once, and then this happened," and it's like, that's not it. That's fantastic. I'm glad that sort of expanded your mind and gave you a thing, but that's not it. This doesn't take drugs. This doesn't take stimulants. This doesn't take anything. This is something that is naturally occurring within you that you can tap into, access, whatever, and which will accompany you for the residual of your life on earth. Okay, so tomorrow, lesson 50, I'm sustained by the love of God. which is a pretty cool thing. And here's a funny thing, right? I know someone that I met yonks ago. Oh, if you're from another country, yonks means ages. If you're Americans, I've got a few American friends watching this. Yonks means ages ago. So yonks ago, I met this woman who was aware of the fact that she was sustained by the love of God and decided to give up food. And she was a breatharian or an aeritarian and just survived on 1 cup of tea every day. And there will always be that tendency, right, that ego tendency to want to validate the physical entity through proving to itself somehow that it is sustained by the love of God. And we'll get into that more perhaps tomorrow. But it's like there's no need to do anything. You know, you validate the body by denying its sustenance in an attempt to. It's like we're attempting to let go of validating it or not validating it. We don't care whether the body is a thing or isn't a thing. We don't have to prove it to ourselves or not prove it to ourselves. We're simply trying to contact God. Is that simple enough? Don't worry about the body. If you enjoy food, eat. If you don't enjoy food, we'll fucking suck air. All right, I love you. Bye.